Thanks for coming in today. I know we do a lot of beer reviews, so it seems fitting that I make a beer glass. And in this furnace, it's running a little over 2,000 degrees. There's a large ceramic bowl that holds about 95 pounds of liquid, clear glass. This furnace runs 24/7 to maintain that reservoir, and in between 1,000 and 2,000 degrees, this glass will be in what we call a semi-liquid viscous state. So it's in a gradient state of matter in between solid and liquid, and is a property that makes glass kind of unique. Water obviously doesn't go, goes immediately from solid to liquid at 32 degrees, and so water blowing's not a thing. In a pan over here, we have pulverized colored glass. And this is a mixture of red and yellow and black and white, which are immediately recognizable as the Maryland state flag colors. We like our Maryland breweries. We like our Maryland flag. So we do some Maryland drinkware. This reheating furnace runs a little bit hotter than the reservoir, also a little above 2,000 degrees. And it doesn't run 24/7, but it gets hotter when we need it for the working purposes. None of the glass that's on the pipe will be below 1,000 degrees at any point in the process. Otherwise, it'll start to contract unevenly, and that stress will make the glass crack. Very similar to what you may have seen if you've ever dropped an ice cube into a glass of water. All the colors are essentially glowing some shade of orange, and that's just because of how hot they are. The color will return to its original form after the glass has cooled off. After giving it a little bit of shape, I blow really hard, capping my finger over the mouthpiece, and the hot glass makes the air inside the pipe expand, inflating the malleable material. Now, as we're shaping this beer glass, much like we would shape almost any other vessel, we're working from the top down. And anytime I go to blow, the glass wants to expand wherever it's hotter. That's going to be where it's softer, and would such be the path of least resistance. So we take a moment to cool the lower half on this steel table, making it stiffer, so that when we blow, it's the top half of the glass that's expanding and getting thinner. We're going to bring the glass back to our workstation and pick up a pair of tools called jacks. These would have evolved from very similar tools that the Romans would have been using about 2,000 years ago, evolving from an elongated pair of sheep shears. These tools are essentially your Swiss Army knife in glass blowing. And although there are many manufacturers who make small variations, they're all going to have slightly different qualities because they're also handmade tools. The line that we squeezed in will give us somewhere to detach the glass from the blowpipe later in the process. At this stage, the glass is wider and shorter than what we would like. So we begin to build a gradient into the temperature, allowing the glass to elongate and narrow. At this stage, the gradient in temperature is visible as some of the glass is glowing more than the rest of the glass. When we go all the way into the furnace, that's to balance out that minimum 1,000-degree temperature. The gradient in the walls of the piece may be as much as 500 or 600 degrees at this stage. We can use the same pair of jacks to shape and straighten up the sides of our glass. And we can use beeswax as a lubricant to ensure that our metal tools slide with a smooth action. Continuing down along the side of the vessel, we're now building heat into just the very bottom. Still having to go all the way in periodically. There's a little bit of a rhythm here that depends on wall thickness and color saturation. It can't be purely a sense of timing. So we use the same tools now, flattening the bottom, shoring up the sides. Excellent. So I mentioned that we had been shaping the glass from the top down, and now that the bottom is flat, we've gone as far down as we can go. For the second half of the process, we'll have to attach a solid pipe to the bottom of the glass. So we pick another pipe up off of our warmer. We take another small gather from the furnace. This time, maybe only about as much as a wad of chewing gum. And this is going to create a small, deliberately weak attachment with the bottom of the glass, strong enough to hold on to it and allow us to continue to shape it, but weak enough that it should detach at the end of the process without leaving a dramatic mark on the bottom of our glass. There's a little bit of a Goldilocks zone for the temperature balance here. If either pipe is too hot, they will fuse together and not separate cleanly at the end of the process. If either piece is too cold, then the attachment will be too weak and the glass could drop on the floor and break. We make our attachment and do a few rotations to make sure it's generally straight. And then all we have to do is pinch and send a vibration into the metal to break our glass free. Now, we never plan for that opening to break perfectly evenly, so we take a moment to stretch the glass a little bit taller, and as it's stretching, it's also becoming thinner. Next, we're going to remove those tool marks using a small pair of shears to cut through the glass exposing a much thinner and cleaner lip than we would have otherwise had. The amount of resistance here feels a lot like I'm cutting through chewing gum. The same tools once again. We use our jacks. And we stretch the glass all the way open. We're going to touch it one more time, just to make sure that the shape is exactly where we like it. Glass is actually the most archival material. That means to say it will remain unchanged longer than anything else. It'll last longer than stone or metal. Obviously, it lasts longer than wood. You can take a digital image of this glass and put that image in a vault next to the glass itself, and the glass will still last longer. It will not change shape, fade, erode in any way. Which adds a little bit of extra significance to making sure that the shape of the glass is just the way we like it. There we go. Now, all we need to do is apply a small drop of water to this deliberately weak connection we made earlier. A little vibration, and the glass detaches very cleanly. Where there could be a rough attachment, we use a very hot torch, and anything that is sharp is inherently very poorly insulated and will bead up on itself quickly, becoming smooth. This glass is still over 1,000 degrees, so I don't want to touch it with my bare hands. And we move it into an oven that's just under 1,000 degrees. This annealer is hot enough for the glass to not lose its shape. It's hot enough for the glass to not break, but cold enough for it to not lose its shape. Over 12 hours overnight, that glass will cool slowly, annealing, which is the opposite of tempering. You may hear the glass breaking off of our pipes in the bin over here, which is what would happen to the glass if it were left out at room temperature. But tomorrow, the glass will have cooled down completely and will have returned to its original colors, which are red and yellow and black and white.